Hi everyone, it's Katelyn, and I just got back from the grocery store and I'm at my parents' house. So I thought I'd do a little rundown of what I normally eat in a day, what I consider to be clean eating, what works for me and doesn't work for me when losing weight, and just my general rule of thumbs for how I eat on a day-to-day basis. So I am by no means an expert. I don't have a background in nutrition. This is purely just based on what works for me and what I've seen work for other people. So I don't like having a super restrictive diet in terms of portions. So I try to focus on eating whole foods. And what I mean by that is single ingredient type foods. So things like nuts. These are some pecans I just picked up. Peppers. I just got some mushrooms to make for dinner. And I'm probably gonna cook up, you probably can't tell, but this is a bag of beets that I'm probably gonna roast later for dinner. So in terms of the whole clean eating thing, for a long time, I didn't really understand what was considered clean, what wasn't. And I think that's because there's just no strict set of rules. And my friends that are actual nutritionists will tell you that there's a lot of misconceptions in the world of clean eating. And a lot of that was just popularized by the internet and people posting things that may or may not be true and rules that they may or may not have made up. But for me, I've come up with my own personal definition, and it's just a rule that happens to work really well for me in determining what's healthy for me, what's good for me, and what's not. So that's what I want to pass on today. It's by no means a strict set of rules, and I'm not trying to criticize anything that isn't necessarily clean, because I think we all need our steps to get to healthy. We're not necessarily going to go right from eating junk food or fast food to eating green juice every day. I think there's always ways we can just look to make one step to improve, get one step a little better. That doesn't mean that we have to be perfect all the time. I think a lot of times stress is one of the worst things for our health. So trying to be really super stressed about all the rules of eating is not good for you either. So I think love yourself, love your body no matter what. Try to make a healthy decision here and there. Try to take it up a notch each time. Each day, just look for little ways you can improve your eating. But that by no means means that you have to be perfect or that you're failing if you're not. So I'm at my parents' house. So sorry, Mom and Dad, I got to throw you under the bus a little bit. I'm going to use some of their food as examples of what I don't consider clean. But I will give the disclaimer that my parents actually do eat pretty healthy in terms of the average American. I think they are way better off than the average people, but I still pulled a few of their things that they eat a lot, just to use as examples. So, like I said, what I look at as clean eating is just whole foods, single ingredient, things that don't need an ingredient list on it. So things like spinach and kale, and I have some avocados here. Things like that, I don't really worry about my portions at all. I figure if it's good for me and it's something healthy like that, even with nuts, I know a lot of people say you can overdo it with things that are calorie dense, but I tend not to worry about it. I figure as long as it's clean and not roasted in oils or have a ton of weird stuff on it. And if it's just, like, for example, these are raw cashews. They're not roasted in anything. There's no oils on them. There's no salt. I'll throw them on a salad, and that helps me a lot to fill up and also stay on track. So first example I'll give is just bread, for example. So I think a lot of times people think like, oh, it's just a single ingredient bread, but there's obviously, I'm sure you guys know, a lot of ingredients that go in it. So for example, whole wheat flour, water, wheat gluten, sugar, yeast, soybean oil, salt, molasses, wheat bran, and a bunch of other stuff. I'm not really sure what it is. So I think a better alternative is eating something whole and single ingredient like brown rice or some other type of complex carbohydrate. Again, I am not a nutritionist. I'm not an expert. But things like that where you know what you're getting and you know what all goes into it, things that you're making at home yourself. Clearly, we didn't bake this bread here at my house. So, so we don't know what all is going into it. But for example, these strawberries are just a single ingredient. We know what they were grown on. I always go with organic to avoid pesticides. Again, kind of a personal choice. I think eating a non-organic strawberry is better than going out and eating ice cream or something like that. So again, it's all a give and take. It's where you need to decide where you want to draw the line for yourself. And I encourage just making slow, steady steps to get healthier. So maybe the first step is just incorporating more fruits and vegetables and not even worrying about whether they're organic or not. And maybe that's something that comes later on down the road. So the second example I want to give, my dad likes these Yoplait Light yogurt. And so the ingredients for these are cultured, pasteurized, grade A, non-fat milk, blueberries, modified cornstarch, sugar, kosher gelatin, some other things that I don't know what they are, sucralose, red number 40, blue number 1, which are all like dyes and colorings. So again, we don't really know, is it the end of the world if you eat one of these? I'm sure not, but I'd rather control what I can. So what I like to do is if I want a yogurt, I'll just get plain organic yogurt and I will add my own fruit. So I'll cut up strawberries. I'll usually add some walnuts in. I like raisin black add to yogurt just to give it some sweetness. So things like that where you just have a lot more control over what's going in it and you know what that is. It's not just these mystery ingredients like are in here. But I really want to go back to the fact that I don't want to criticize anybody for eating stuff like that. I used to eat these little Yoplait things all the time at my old job, and that was a better choice than some of the other options I had. So it's not about being perfect, it's just about taking each step at a time to get a little bit healthier. I'm a big fan of salads. I try to eat a salad every single day. I feel like the more greens I get in my diet, spinach, kale, things like that, the healthier I feel overall. So I actually try to eat greens at every single meal. I put spinach in my shakes in the morning. I usually have a salad for lunch, and then depending on what I'm having for dinner, I'll either make a small salad or I will literally put my dinner over greens. So I'm a big fan of doing like chicken over greens, or like tonight I'm probably gonna roast up the mushrooms and beets that I got, those over greens. Whatever I can do to get more greens in my diet always makes me feel better. So instead of doing something like light craft raspberry dressing, let's see what's in here. Water, sugar, red wine vinegar, soybean oil, some other flavorings. You say natural flavor. I know that can mean a variety of things. I'm not claiming to be an expert. So is this better than certain other things? Is it better to watch your portions? Of course, but I like my favorite kind of dressing. Sometimes I use salsa as dressing, which I love, but my favorite kind of dressing is good old olive oil. Sometimes I'll use red wine vinegar, but my honest to God favorite dressing is I'll squeeze lemons, fresh lemons all over my salad and put some olive oil on for some good healthy fats. And that's my favorite way to eat a salad. I think it's delicious. You can taste the flavors of the vegetables and whatever you're putting on your salad so much better. So to me, that's a healthier option. Let's see what else. So peanut butter is a good example. My mom has this creamy peanut butter, and there's peanuts in it, of course, but there's also fully hydrogenated vegetable oils. This is some almond butter that I got from the store that just comes from those machines. So it's only almonds in here, that's it. So again, I look at that as a better choice. I certainly don't claim to have all the answers. And like I said, I'm not an expert, but I know that if I'm eating stuff like this, that's just pure single ingredient clean stuff, then I'm doing something good for me and I don't stress about my portions so much. So that's actually what really helps me, because then I feel like I'm sort of free to eat whatever I want. If it's what I consider healthy. But I think everybody needs to just sit down and figure out where's the lines they want to draw for themselves. Like some people consider any kind of dairy to be unhealthy. I'm not necessarily of that extreme, but I don't know. I guess jury's still out. But again, it's important to just know what you consider healthy or not. So again, nothing against these little yogurts. A lot of times, if you're at a job where this is your option, or a candy bar from the vending machine, like go for it, right? So I just encourage everybody to just look at what's important to them and look at what their diet consists of, and then just make small healthy changes to get a little bit better. So so where could you improve in eating more whole kinds of foods? So the clean eating, I think, is just kind of a catchphrase or a trend word that became popular a few years ago. I don't consider, at least to my knowledge, there's no real definition of what clean eating is, but this is what I consider to be clean, are these whole ingredients. So I also get a lot of questions about Shakeology and whether it's clean or not, and it absolutely is, because all of the ingredients are purely superfoods. So I don't believe what people say when they say if you can't read something on the label, that means it's not good for you. That's not always true. Sometimes even certain vitamins added will be listed by their scientific name, so I wouldn't be able to recognize them, but it doesn't mean it's bad for you. And like Shakeology, I didn't know what spirulina was when I first had Shakeology, but now I do, and I know it's a superfood. So I don't necessarily go by that rule of thumb. I go by, is this healthy for me? What do these ingredients mean? And if there's a lot of stuff that looks like crap, like if you see a lot of hydrogenated oils or a lot of weird added sugars or artificial colorings, then to me, that's usually stuff that I try to avoid. But again, I'm not perfect. I don't try to eat perfectly. I think first and foremost, you just got to find what works for you and try to work on other things in your life in terms of taking stress away. I think that's the best thing we can do for ourselves, is to love our body. Our bodies have the healing capabilities to deal with a lot of stuff that's coming into it. Food, toxins, environmental stuff, all kinds of things. So we have to have faith in our body, and we have to appreciate all that our body is doing for us. So loving our body is just going to increase our health. Doing things to keep our stress low is also going to increase our health. So eating is just one piece of the puzzle. But I like to do what I can to try and control that in terms of just taking those little steps to get better and better. So I hope that helps. I hope that makes sense. I remember when I was talking to my parents a few years ago about different clean eatings, they were very confused by the whole concept. And understandably, there's a lot of information that floats around that says different things. So if you have any questions, please post below or message me, and I'll be happy to explain to you what my personal definition is. Again, I'm not an expert. I'm not a nutritionist. So this is just what I found is a set of rules that helps me know what to eat and what not to. If I start eating too many things that I consider processed or have a lot of ingredients that I wouldn't normally eat, I just throttle it back a little. And eating this kind of basic food is what helps keep me full and satisfied and not get other cravings for other junk. So the more junk I eat, the more I crave the junk. So that right there is a signal to me that maybe that's not the best thing for my body. It is so much easier to stay on track if I'm just eating these healthy single ingredient type foods, organic when possible. Meats, I'll try to look for organic or grass-fed. Fish, wild caught, that kind of thing. So I hope that makes sense. If you need extra help, we're actually doing a free clean eating group next week. So if you want to be added into that, let me know. We'll be giving tips like this, again, not from an expert perspective, but just what works for normal people. What can we do to take little steps to get our health better and better each day? So I hope that makes sense, and I hope you guys are having a great day. Thanks for watching. Tara, Lisa, Randy, Vanessa, hi guys. Thanks for jumping on, and I'll talk to you guys soon. I hope that helps. Remember to love yourself first and foremost.